welcome to this deep dive.
Hello.
Today, you've brought us into a really, fascinating and maybe slightly unusual corner of knowledge.
Yeah. We're looking at excerpts from William Boericke's Homeopathic Materia Medica.
Right, and our focus. It's a remedy the source calls Aphis, Chenopodii, Glauci.
Exactly. Which, as the text details, comes from plant lice found on the Chenopodium plant.
So, just to be clear for everyone listening, we are literally exploring the properties described for, tiny insects on a specific weed according to this particular text.
That's right. And our mission today really is to sort of guide you through these excerpts together.
We want to pull out the most maybe surprising details and try to understand what this level of documentation actually suggests.
Because what immediately jumps out, I think, isn't just where the remedy comes from.
No, it's the sheer granularity, isn't it? The level of detail in the symptoms described.
Precisely. It's less about, vague complaints and much more. Well, the specific doesn't quite cover it sometimes.
It gets very particular.
It does. When you look at how this text lays out the potential effects of Aphis Chenopodii Glauci, you really see a focus on highly specific feelings, sensations, and exact locations in the body.
Okay, take the head section. It goes beyond just feeling sad. The source describes an aching pain. Okay, that's worse for motion. But then it hits you with this incredibly vivid image.
The brain seems swashed hither and thither.
Exactly, that specific internal feeling. It's quite something to document.
It is. Or look at the ears not just ringing, but a noise as of cannon. Very specific.
Yeah, and the detail keeps going, like a yellow face or very localized pain. Orbital right neuralgia with lots of tears. And this is where the descriptive style really comes through. A toothache that's uniquely relieved by general warm sweat.
Right. It doesn't just list the symptom. It connects it to a very specific thing that makes it better.
And it even compares it, to chamomilla or cham, as it's often shortened in these kinds of texts.
Yes, and that same toothache extending ear, temple, cheekbone. A very precise pattern of where the pain goes.
And cross-referenced again, this time to Plantago.
That comparative note, it really shows how observations for one substance were understood, in relation to others within the Materia Medica system.
So as we move through the body and the text, this intense focus on specifics just continues.
Absolutely. The stomach section notes a lack of appetite, specifically for meat and bread, not just food in general.
Right. And small physical signs like vesicles on the end of the tongue.
Right.
Or the type of discomfort colic with rumbling and straining, but nothing happens.
Yeah, that fruitless straining. Then the stool section gives these contrasting but equally precise descriptions.
You mean either hard, knotty stools or our morning diarrhea?
Right. Morning diarrhea with painful urging and a distinct burning in the anus, plus that pressure feeling in the rectum and bladder. Very specific combination.
Even something like urine gets documented with the surprising detail. A voluptuous feeling in glands, burning.
And urination that's frequent, copious, and frothy. All those details together.
But maybe the most striking example, for me anyway, of this text approach is under the back section.
Yes. Severe pains in region of the lower inner angle of left shoulder blade running into chest.
It's not just upper back pain, it's pinpointed. That exact spot.
That level of precision linked in the source to something like plant lice, it is quite remarkable.
It really is. The text even gets specific about fever symptoms.
Like shuddering all over, burning palms, and hot sweat specifically in bed.
Okay, so what we're seeing throughout these excerpts is this consistent method, documenting really specific physical and mental states.
Down to the tiny sensations, the exact locations, what makes things better or worse.
And the source also puts Aphis Chenopodii Glauci in context, doesn't it? Comparing it with others.
Yes, suggesting relationships with Natrum sulfuricum nat sulf and Nux vomica, or Nux. And it even gives guidance on preparation levels, the 6th to 30th potency mentioned.
So just to recap for you listening, we've unpacked how this source describes this world of incredibly precise symptoms.
Right, from that swashed brain feeling.
And the cannon noise in the ears.
To a toothache, relieved by sweat.
And that very specific pain point near the shoulder blade.
We've seen that method of detailed observation, the cross-referencing within the text itself.
Which brings us to maybe a final thought for you to consider based on this deep dive. What does it tell you about, the nature of documented observation in a source like this?
You mean when it focuses on describing such granular, almost peculiar physical and mental states?
Yes, especially when they're associated with something seemingly so simple or maybe unusual as plant lice.
How does that intense focus on capturing the minute, the really specific experience, how does it inform your understanding of how texts like this were put together?
And what they were trying to capture about the world they observed.
Yeah, something to think about. We hope exploring these details has given you a unique window into this particular materia medica and the method it uses.
Definitely food for thought. Keep exploring.